Hey there, it's Seb Frey here with another exciting episode of Seb Frey TV. Hey, here I am. I'm in a house. I'm waiting for my clients to show up. They're going to be along in a few minutes. So I've got some time to kill. So I wanted to share my thoughts about price per square foot, which is something that comes up quite a bit. You know, yesterday I was meeting with some homeowners talking about how much their home is worth. And they asked me how much I thought it was worth. I said, well, I'll have to run the comps, but I think it's probably going to be worth, somewhere in this price range. And they were like, what? Because they said the house, two doors down or whatever, it's priced much higher than that, and it's a smaller house, right? So they're like, how come you think that our house is worth so much less than this other house over here? Well, so number one reason is that home, it's for sale. It hasn't actually sold. It's been on the market for, in this case, 40 days, more than 40 days, right? So that house isn't selling, which tells you that it's overpriced. So whatever the price per square foot is for that house, it's too much. And the other thing to consider is that houses which have smaller square footage have a higher price per square foot, generally speaking, than larger houses. So why is that, you ask? Well, one thing you must consider is that about half of what you're paying for when you're buying a property is the lot, right? So the dirt the house sits on is worth about half of the value of the property that you're purchasing, right? So if you could somehow take out that land value, which again, that's pretty tricky as well, because lots are different size, they have different characteristics, right? Some might have a view, some might have an easement, some might have who knows what. There are things which can affect the lot value. But let's just say you were to abstract out that lot value and then just look at the house itself. If you were to look at a 1,200 square foot house and say an 1,800 square foot house, the 1,200 square foot house, even if they were both sitting on $0 value lots, the price per square foot of the smaller house would still be substantially higher than the larger house. Why is that? Well, because there's a certain benefit to having just a legally habitable structure, right? Just that alone, regardless almost of the size, that itself will have a certain amount of value, and that every square foot that you add after like a minimum amount of square feet basically decreases in value, right? So because when you're building a house, the first square foot costs a heck of a lot more to build than the last square foot. Right? So the larger that your house is, it will have a smaller price per square foot, generally speaking. So if you want to use price per square foot as a metric to figure out how much your house is worth, what you got to do is you got to find homes that have very similar lots in the same neighborhood, right? So the same neighborhood would be not crossing over any arterial roads, not crossing over any freeways or rivers or railroad tracks or anything like that. Have it all be in the same sort of discrete neighborhood. And you want to find homes, of course, that are of similar size, right? So let's just say you have an 1,800 square foot house. You would want to look for recent sales within the last, say, 3 or 6 months that are between, say, 1,600 and 2,000 square feet. So if you were to find 5 homes in the neighborhood which were very similar lot, all that stuff, and you looked for between 1,600 and 2,000 square feet, you had an average of that price per square foot. Let's just say that comes out to be $400, right, a square foot on average, and your house is 1,800 square feet. Then actually, if you have found houses that are truly comparable enough to your house, then that price per square foot actually would be pretty accurate, most likely, right? Depending on what's going on with your market. Your market could be increasing in value or decreasing in value, right? Markets are dynamic. They're not static. They don't stay still for, that long, generally speaking. But if you are able to do that, if you're able to find the good comps, then you can use a price per square foot. But do not look at properties which are on the market to find out how much your house is worth on a per square foot basis, because that is always a road to heartbreak. Many sellers make that mistake. They price on what other people are asking for their homes, and that is a very different thing many times from what they're actually selling for. So I hope this has been interesting to you. I'd love to know if it actually is interesting to you or not. And if it is, go ahead, give me a comment, give me a like, give me a thumbs up, give me a share, give me something that says, hey, Seb, man, I dug that. That's a good bit of information that I had not considered before. That would be awesome. All right, that is it for this episode of Seb Frey TV. I'll have another episode up again before too long.